So that kind of cut out. So this is going to be like part 2 of the video. And I think that what I was saying was that I spend a lot of my time going to these conferences, learning about these. So I have this kind of intellectual, scientific understanding of these substances as a result of absorbing and feeling the need that some people need this empirical information on the therapeutic nature of these substances because of they've been misinformed. So that's one element. I'm also experienced firsthand, as in like I put my body and my psyche and my a lot of things on my soul in the line of these substances to like cultivate a relationship with these plant allies. Like I'm traditionally trained in the Shipibo lineage from South America, but I've also immersed in some native Australian practices, but I've also immersed myself in Western psychotherapeutic kind of frames and systems and modalities as well. So I feel like I have this complementary approach. So there are certain plants and substances that I have more of a relationship with than others. The strongest ones would be the ayahuasca and certain species of acacias, Syrian rue, iboga, datura, psilocybin mushrooms, San Pedro cactus. I haven't done Amanita muscaria. It's there, I don't tend to do things until they kind of like, it's an organic, I don't chase them out, they tend to come to me, and even when they come to me, it's like, I don't always just do it because the opportunity's there, although some people think that I do, but I denied 5-MeO DMT toad medicine 5 times before I eventually had it. And for me, the frog and the toad represent or teach the message of patience, so I kind of felt like it was meaningful. And the toad rewarded me with that. So yeah, I have both the Eastern and Western approach, as well as the scientific understanding, as well as the actual first-hand experience. And I feel like I'm a living example of the potential and power of these medicines. Like, although your interaction or what you perceive of me now is I seem somewhat functional and mature and I am in this kind of platform, I've still got refinement but yeah, I feel like a credible kind of human being, and I feel like it's the result of my soul's drive, but a huge part of it has been psychedelics. Like when I was younger, I was a very intense ice addict from the age of 15, and that continued till my early 20s, until I went to South America and drank and trained in the Shipibo lineage, and I was self-aware enough to know that, like, my drug addiction, my ice smoking every day was not healthy for me, but I didn't have the will and the discipline and the understanding and the yes strong enough to say no to these substances. And so I would remove myself from the environments and friendship circles, and I would go live in like the bottom of Australia, like in Tasmania for a couple of years, and then the central desert of Australia as a way of rehabbing myself. And which were also, like, I learned practical things, and I spent time with Indigenous, and some cool things. It was all part of my journey, but it wasn't until my first psychedelic I experienced was DMT, and it was given to me without really knowing what I was about to get into, and it was the first time in years that I'd been trying to stop taking crystal meth, and I just, like, each day I would set the intention of, like, I'm not going to have it today, and I would fucking have it. And it was interesting. Like, after having that, the next morning was the first morning I woke up without my first thought being, where's the pipe? And it felt surreal to feel like, wow, I feel a sense of kind of connection and deep self-love that lasted for about a month, and it probably would have lasted longer, but I didn't understand the significance of community as an integration tool, and I was still surrounded by the drug taking friends that I had, and then I just got drunk one night and then had a pipe again, and it like literally fed the parasite in me that I feel that drug, like it feeds a parasite in people, and you can see it, and I feel like that's partly why ayahuasca is so powerful, because it's antibacterial, antifungal, antiparasitic, and it literally cleanses the gut biome, which is where most of our behavior and thoughts and feelings and kind of memories are held. And so to have this like purgative effect that literally cleanses the gut flora of these fucked up parasites and pathogens, it's like, forget about the visions, the medicine, it's just it's working. And so I didn't really, so yeah, I have first-hand experience. And it was as a result of my training that I came back, and I was so porous. And I was, when I say porous, I mean like malleable. Like there was no filter. There was no barrier between me and trees and people and landscapes. And it was like, I mean, I'd lost 14 kilos, and I was kind of, I felt kind of not weak, but I felt weak. And overwhelmed, oversensitive, and so part of, not on a conscious level, but in hindsight, it's what became a very essential key, was that my movement training and physical training to actually get physically strong, and that just indirectly created boundaries and barriers, and taught me how to, although there's other ways of learning boundaries. But I feel like then my training in the physical body and somatic processes offered this complementary perspective and insight into the nature, because I would have these endogenous psychedelic experiences, which means that I wouldn't take a substance, but I would have the very peak equivalent kind of thing just from breath and movement and sound and imagination, all kind of coalescing together in this moment where I would, like, if I hadn't had the training that I'd had, it would kind of, I'd be scared, just because of they were epic experiences. So what else can I say? Yeah, I feel like they're the elements, they're the components that, or the points that I feel qualify me to give the videos that I'm going to give probably in the next week or so on, and the different kind of topics that I'll be talking about would be like personal, intergenerational, ecological trauma, and the psychedelic influence on epigenetics and how it relates to these traumas. Harm reduction in festival settings, group work versus solo work, and the benefits of both, preparation and integration, how to lose your mind safely and what not to do, anti-addiction tools, endogenous versus exogenous psychedelic experiences, why do I personally take these and what I receive from these substances, the skills necessary to be a competent facilitator, nature immersion as an integration approach, psychedelics as actual integration tools instead of actually having peak initiatory experiences. I'll go into that. The concept of what I call somodelics, which is what I'm giving a talk on at EGA this year, which is the feedback loop of psychedelics, not just the way dance and somatic processes augment the nature of the psychedelic behavior, but how psychedelics not just affect the brain but the body. And also this is relevant to why I actually called my business after psychedelic dimethyltryptamine, although it was dynamic movement therapy, but it was just kind of a purposeful play on words. Flotation tanks and psychedelics. So yeah, they're the kind of things that I'll be talking about in the next week, and these are the things that I'm most passionate about. So yeah, I think that's these have been long videos. I scrapped the whole 3-minute thing. I realized that I wouldn't be doing the topics justice. Let us now descend